It happened on one of those nights that felt too ordinary to be memorable, until it wasn't. We were in bed, the lights low, the quiet hum of the ceiling fan above us. My husband was lying on his side, tracing lazy circles on my arm. It was the kind of intimacy that felt safe, familiar, maybe a little too familiar. He hesitated before speaking. "Can I ask you something?" I smiled in the dark. "You just did." But he didn't laugh. His hand stilled on my skin, and that's when I felt the change, the tension creeping into the room. "What if," his voice dropped lower, "what if I wanted someone else there? Not to touch, just to watch." The words didn't land right away. First I thought he was joking. "You mean while we?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded. "Just once. Someone I trust. Someone who wouldn't." His jaw tightened. "Only if you wanted it too." I stared at him in the dim light, waiting for him to laugh, to tell me he was kidding. But he didn't. My chest tightened. 100 thoughts swirled, confusion, shock, maybe even hurt. But tangled somewhere in there was something far more dangerous. Curiosity. I hated that it was there. I hated that the idea didn't instantly disgust me. "I don't know if I could," I whispered. He brushed his thumb over my knuckles, tentative, like I might pull away. "It's just a fantasy. I needed to tell you." I turned onto my back, staring at the ceiling. My heart was pounding, though I didn't understand why. Because in my mind I already pictured it. A stranger's eyes on me. Watching. Silent. And to my own shame, every time I pictured it, I felt my body come alive in a way it hadn't in years. I didn't say yes. Not yet. But that night, as he slept soundly beside me, I lay awake and wondered what it would feel like to be seen that way. A week later, he told me who it would be. We were in the kitchen, the morning sun spilling through the window, making everything look deceptively normal. He set his coffee down, eyes avoiding mine. "It's Ryan," he said, like he was telling me something casual, harmless. I froze. "Ryan?" He nodded. "He's someone I trust. He already knows." He said, "Yes, if you're okay with it." Ryan. His friend. The one who always seemed a little too perceptive, too charming for his own good. He had this way of looking at me, never inappropriate but never entirely innocent either. "You asked him." My voice cracked, part disbelief, part something I didn't want to name. He didn't make it weird. He just said he'd be there, silent. Nothing else. "It's your choice." I tried to be angry. I tried to feel betrayed. But underneath the shock was that same heat from the night of my husband's confession. Because if I was honest, Ryan was exactly the kind of man whose attention I'd secretly wondered about. That night I lay awake again, imagining what it would be like, his eyes on me, no words, just watching. The following Saturday, Ryan came over. He didn't act strange. No smirk, no jokes. He just sat in a chair by the window, his posture straight, his expression calm. My husband kissed me softly, trying to make me feel comfortable. But my chest was tight, my pulse wild. I felt Ryan's gaze on me immediately, like a touch without contact. First I avoided looking at him. But then, God help me, I couldn't stop. Each glance felt heavier than the last, like something unspoken was happening between us, in plain sight. Every time our eyes met, it was like my body forgot my husband was even there. I tried to keep my focus on my husband, to stay present in what we were doing, but Ryan's eyes were impossible to ignore. They held me, steady, unblinking, deliberate. He didn't smile. He didn't lean back or look away. He just watched, and that stillness was more powerful than anything else in the room. Every time our eyes locked, it was like a silent current ran through me, coiling low in my stomach, making my breath hitch. I felt my body respond in ways I couldn't hide, arching closer to my husband, holding him tighter, but all for reasons he couldn't understand. At one point, Ryan tilted his head slightly, as if studying me. The smallest motion, and yet it sent a shiver through me so intense that I had to bite my lip to keep quiet. I knew then that he could see it. See what I was feeling, how my body was betraying me. My husband whispered my name, mistaking my reaction for something he was doing. He sounded pleased, maybe even proud. But it wasn't him. Every breathless sound I made belonged to the man in the chair. Ryan leaned forward just a fraction, resting his elbows on his knees. It wasn't much, but that tiny change in posture felt intimate, like he was closing an invisible distance between us. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to feel his hands on me instead. The thought alone made my chest rise faster, heat spreading through me until I couldn't think straight. And yet, he never moved closer. He didn't need to, because with every look he gave me, every silent acknowledgement of what was happening, Ryan already had me completely. The longer it went on, the more the world around me blurred. My husband's touch felt distant, almost muted, while Ryan's presence grew louder in my mind with every passing second. I tried to remind myself that this was just a fantasy we were indulging, that Ryan was only there to watch. But my body didn't care about rules. Every time Ryan's eyes swept over me, it felt like a slow burn under my skin. I could sense his focus, deliberate and unhurried, as if he had all the time in the world to study me. I risked another glance at him. He was leaning forward now, elbows resting on his knees, his fingers laced together loosely. His expression gave nothing away, no smirk, no hunger on the surface, but there was something in his stillness, in the way he held me with his gaze, that made my heart pound violently in my chest. I felt a wave of heat so sharp it made me tremble. My husband noticed, whispering against my neck, thinking it was all for him. But it wasn't. It was Ryan. Because Ryan wasn't just watching. He was claiming me without a single touch. And deep down I knew he could see exactly how much I wanted him to. When it was over, my husband kissed me, his lips lingering on my temple. He held me close, satisfied, unaware. But as I caught my breath, my eyes found Ryan one last time. The look he gave me was deliberate, slow, heavy, like he was silently promising this wasn't the end. And in that single wordless moment, I realized something that terrified me. I no longer wanted my husband. I only wanted him. Ryan stood slowly, as if giving me time to absorb the weight of what had just happened. He didn't rush to leave. He didn't make it awkward. He just held my gaze for a long, deliberate moment before finally speaking. "Good night," he said softly, his voice calm, smooth, impossible to read. I wanted to answer, but my throat felt too tight. The door closed behind him with a quiet click, and just like that, he was gone. My husband curled up beside me, wrapping his arm around my waist, still basking in whatever thrill the night had given him. He pressed a kiss to my bare shoulder, whispering, "You were amazing. So perfect." I forced a small smile, but inside I felt hollow. Because while he drifted into the easy, satisfied sleep of a man who believed he had fulfilled his fantasy, I lay wide awake, my mind consumed by Ryan. I could still see him, sitting in that chair, unmoving yet so powerful, his eyes holding me captive. The memory of his gaze replayed again and again, each time sending a faint shiver through me, even as my husband breathed softly against my neck. For the first time in years, I touched my lips absent-mindedly, imagining they were his. My chest ached with something I couldn't name, longing, hunger, maybe both. And as shameful as it felt, I knew I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about him. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Maybe not ever. The next morning felt unreal. My husband was cheerful, playful even, making breakfast like we had just shared some thrilling secret that brought us closer together. But I couldn't look at him the same way. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan, his steady posture, the way his gaze stripped me bare without ever laying a hand on me. I hated how much I craved that feeling again. For days I kept replaying that night in my head. My husband would kiss me goodbye before work, and I'd smile like everything was normal. But as soon as the door closed, my thoughts drifted back to Ryan. It wasn't just desire. It was the way he looked at me, like he had seen something in me that even I'd forgotten was there. My husband tried to bring up the night once, casually. "Maybe we could try it again sometime?" I forced a laugh. Maybe. But the truth was, if it happened again, I didn't want him there at all. One evening, I caught myself scrolling through old photos on my husband's phone. Pictures of gatherings, dinners, weekends away. Ryan was in so many of them, smiling that easy, infuriatingly confident smile. I zoomed in on one where he was looking at the camera, his eyes sharp even in a blurry photo. And for a split second it felt like he was looking right at me again. My breath caught, my cheeks flushed, and I hated how my body reacted because it wasn't supposed to feel this way. But deep down I already knew. I wasn't thinking about my husband anymore. I was only thinking about Ryan. A week passed before I saw Ryan again. It was at a casual get-together, friends, drinks, laughter. Nothing unusual. Except that every time I caught his eye, I felt that same electric pull, sharp and undeniable. He didn't stare. He didn't flirt. But his eyes lingered just long enough to remind me of everything we hadn't said. At one point, when no one was watching, he stepped closer to me near the kitchen. His voice was low, steady. "Did you like it?" My breath hitched. "What?" He didn't blink. That night. I couldn't speak. My silence was answer enough. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Not smug, not playful. Just knowing. "Then you know it doesn't have to end there," he murmured, his tone soft, almost teasing. "But only if you want it to." He stepped back before anyone could notice, leaving me standing there with my pulse thundering in my ears. For the rest of the evening, I barely heard a word my husband said. All I could think about was Ryan's quiet promise, and how desperately I wanted to say yes. By the time we got home, my husband kissed me goodnight, oblivious. But as I lay awake beside him, my phone lit up with a single message from Ryan. "Thursday. My place. No one else." And for the first time in years, my heart raced with the kind of anticipation I couldn't hide. Thursday came and I told my husband I was meeting a friend for drinks. He kissed me goodbye without suspicion, wishing me a fun night. I hated how easy it was to lie. Ryan's door opened before I could even knock twice. He didn't speak. He just stepped aside, letting me in. The air felt heavy, electric, like we both knew exactly what was about to happen. For a moment we just stood there, looking at each other. No words. No excuses. Then he stepped closer, slow, deliberate. His fingers brushed mine, barely a touch, and my whole body shivered like I'd been waiting for this forever. "You came," he said softly, more statement than question. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered. "But you are." And when his hand cupped my face, when his eyes locked on mine with that same unshakable intensity, I stopped thinking. I didn't care about right or wrong, about loyalty or vows or what this would mean tomorrow, because in that moment everything inside me, every ache, every quiet hunger I'd buried for years, rose to the surface. I melted into him like I'd been his all along, and as his lips finally found mine, I knew there was no going back. I never looked at my husband the same way after that night. Because once you've been truly seen, truly wanted, there's no forgetting it. Ryan didn't just watch me that night. He claimed me without a word. And deep down, I think I'd been his from the very beginning.